This is day 102 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Today's shir is dedicated in honor of and in the schus of Esther Bas Dede Eshke. It's dedicated anonymously. If you would like to sponsor an upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, it would be so greatly appreciated. Please contact me directly. And today's Arukh HaShulchan is Siman Sama Gimel Sif Zayin through Siman Sama Chei Sif Aleph. So, Sama Gimel. We're talking about still reading Shema, sitting down, standing up, the various different options, possibilities, things which are okay, things that are not okay. And, I'm sorry, we're starting from Zayin. We came with Shikra Kavanah with Pesach Rishon. Since the main Kavanah, the person has to have, is in the first pasuk. The person was dozing. Mitzarem also, causing pain. So you wake him up. Achikra Pesach Rishon until he reads the first pasuk. Vu er mamish, when he's fully awake, so he can have proper Kavanah. I'm coming to Mitzarem also. From there, you don't cause pain. You don't stick pins and needles under him. Actually, crux air mamish till he reads when he's fully awake. But I feel Quran Islam named also because even his reading and dozing off, it's permissible. It's also yet another compelling reason. Which you can't read Kavanah the rest. Shema Yotza, you were Yotze. The Vami Pasuk Rishon except for the first Pasuk. Because I'm assuming the Mechesi for the Sifta Zayin. That feeling called Shosh Parashas Chiyum in the Torah, even if all three parashas are Midaraisa. But come nevertheless the Shefesh, but Kavanah is different in the type of Kavanah people paying Pasuk Rishon. Called parashas between the first Pasuk and all the other parashas paying Parashas Rishon and Lishniya. Also between the first and the other parashas. First parashas require, there are opinions that the entire thing should be said with Kavanah. Ayin Shem B'Sifut Zayin, and that is exactly what it's about to say in the next Sif Ches. It's like the difference between the first pasuk and the rest of Shema. In Kavanah, in terms of reading it in a more informal way. It says you should speak in them and that you make them permanent. Now, permanent here means like full focus. That's what permanent means in this perspective. Therefore, shouldn't wink with his eye. Make a sign with his lips. And not show things with his fingers, whatever sign language he's using. Parsha Rishona, in the first parsha, she kabos malchus shemayim, which is the acceptance of the yoke of heaven. But I feel right because it looks like you're reading it ad hoc. I feel var mitzvah lawyer most even for the person mitzvah, you shouldn't point something, say something not verbally. Ram Mashagam Parsha Shniya Usr Ayin Shom. So the Rambam says there's also us in the second parsha, and Mishabura says something on Machmir in the second parsha. But if it's a Dvar Mitzvah, then already in the second parsha you're allowed to make all sorts of gestures and movements. Ayin Shom. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. If you're involved in your work, you want to read Shema. He's Batel Mi Mlachto Ad Shikra Parsha Rishona. You should stop until you read the first part and the first parsha. Then you go back to non-verbal malacha, but if you have to. But if it's dasaram, efshagam mishniya king, k'moshe kazabli. Going to Rambam, you see makar also the second parsha. Calls the shloyek aray, so it shouldn't be seen like an ad hoc, superficial reading. Test b'dakos malacha also. Specifically, the malacha is forbidden. Avalei rei. But to go down from the place where he's working, say Shema and Mukhlib are not required. We're up where you are working. People who are tree pruners, shows in Rosh Elon or whatever other craft doing the top of the tree, the Rosh Binyan, on the top of a building, or Mokum Acher, or another place. They don't have to go down. They read when they're standing there. Even the Baal Bais, who, as by benching other things is more stringent, he does not have to go down in these circumstances. Even though by Amida. You have to go down, as we shall see in Sifin Sadi. Zayin Neshat Tefillah Aruka, that's because Tefillah is long, and you're supposed to have Kavanah for all of it. Shein Kriyash Maz Shema, which is short. So you don't make you go down for that short amount of time. A porter who's carrying a load on his shoulder, he can read Shema with the load on his shoulder. It's not going to get it mixed up. But don't start while you're loading yourself with the burden. When you take it down, or when you're taking it down, because then you are distracted. Because his heart is not at rest in him. Also began before he started loading or unloading. Only focus should not load or unload. Actually, more co-creation until he finishes the entire Shema. Who's compelled him to start being involved to read Shema Dafka at that time, or to load or unload at that time. Not sure what we're talking about. Even when the burner is by tefillah, even when the burner is on his shoulder, he should not daven. Until he takes it down, because it's proper. They're to stand without a mass on your shoulder. We will have no fear. We're talking about davening and well drunk, and that also applies to this simon over here. Somebody who makes a mistake in Shema, case of what should he do? Aleph, Tanan ba koil mafreya lo yotzo. What does it mean, koil mafreya? We have some reason retroactively. Klomar, meaning, shekar pasuk hashay kodem rishon. Read the second pasuk before the first pasuk. The chesiv says, v'ayu. Kabayas you. They have to be as they are written, as they exist in the Torah. The Dafka ba psukim, that's only in the psukim. Said the parashas out of order, or vayomer lishma, why? They're not in one straight linear order in the Torah, in one place. They're in different places. And Shema first, Shema, it's not an impediment if you did not do it properly. To be Allah brings that name Be'er Gra, that the teams in the Tosefta not this way, and that from the Rabbana Miraboy not Yotze in any event, and the Pri Megadim also is unclear past Mirabana, you're not Yotze when you read it out of order. So the Arukh HaShulchan does not have that concern. The reading out of order, the Mishnah Berurah does have a concern. I imagine this happens very rarely. Base. Yesh B'Zeh is a question. The cave Vayu means it should be in order. Alba Parsha sits as look see Vayu. But Parsha sits is where it doesn't say Vayu. The word Vayu doesn't appear in that Parsha. If we read the pasuk out of order, if you're going to say it's taka true that you are Yotze, even read the pasuk out of order. The pasuk should have said this. Sus was considered distinguished. That all the parashas, the pasukim have to be in order. Also can ask the Laman the sphere the authority they clear Shema pasuk rishon and parsha rishona. Quite pains that you're Yotze, they almost clear Shema the Raisa either with the first pasuk or the first parsha. Is isu yesh shekol mafreya. Since you Yotze with one pasuk, what difference does it make when you order you read the rest of it? That's a cute question. Being known as Rabbanan lo Yotze, you're going to say Rabbanan said you're not Yotze. You can't, if that's the case, come by parashas la cave, like the Mishnah Berurah wrote. Maybe it should be Arlocha. Maybe it should mark it even in the parashas. Achmem is the Raya Mashkazam Simun L'Chesif. Design the Chol Parashas Semi Ator Ayin Sham. That all this evidence that all the parashas are Min HaTorah. The God, in other words, Psukim are not Min HaTorah necessarily, and therefore, if you mix, if you cut and paste Psukim, it is out of order. But parashas are hard stops to Raisa, and therefore, if you read parashas out of order, it's not a problem. because each parsha is self-contained. The psukim within this parsha are not, but the parsha itself is. V'gam en shalom b'ksivas film mezuzos pasuk shlo kasidron gam b'parshiyos. Also, why are when you write film mezuzos, is it possible if you write the parshiyos out of order? Much time raising lam base. Lama b'kriyasa lo kabdina parshiyos. And why, when we are called do kriyas Torah, why aren't we makbid and stopping every parsha? Stuma Psucha. Yesh Meidom Sheikh came, people going to see evidently access. Avobemis without me. But the truth is, it's not the same. The B'Sham Kul Chada Mitzvahu. It's there, it's all one mitzvah. Like the film. The Zubalozu ain't a clue. One without the other is nothing. That's why we are makbid on the orders in the Torah. Even though they're not, the four parshas of the throne are not adjacent to each other in the Torah. Our kriyasa, when reading them, the whole parsha b'fnei atzmo, where every parsha is in and of itself. I think I made a mistake before. Lama kriyasa and lama kaptina parshas is not what I asked before. That was a mistake. Lama parshas means we're not makbid on the order of the parshas by Shema, which is the topic of the simon. Why are we not makbid on the parshas by reading? So we saw by Tefillah we're makbid because the order is the way it's written in the Torah, because they're all one mitzvah. But by Kriyas, the whole parsha is the atzmo. But by Kriyas, the order parsha is a thing in and of itself. We show the Kabbalah Hamol Shemayin, first accepting the yoke of heaven. Vashniyah mitzvah is the second for the yoke of the mitzvahs. Look, Hashina Lu, make themselves as no problem if we switch them around. In the one parsha, we should not put one pasuk for the other, appropriately because of vayu. But he's still stuck on the question, why by the parsha this is a problem? Like cave and shtei parshas, Torah Ma'akev, Tikkun Rabbanan Gam B'Shlishis. It's kind of a little pluke. Since two of the parshas are the Raisa, the third one also, they made this takana, but Tzarich Iyun, he is not clear. Kimel, Kara Parsha V'Tova. If you read a parsha, you made a mistake in it. If you know where you made a mistake, you're going to Kara Kula, El Shli Pasuk Chab Emtza. Such as you read the entire parsha, remember you forgot pasuk middle, Choser Rosh Osa pasuk. Go back to the beginning of that pasuk. And even in the middle pasuk, come Choser Rosh pasuk. Nevertheless, you go back to the beginning of the pasuk. Mishpura says some say if you skip only one word, it's go back. Good enough to go back to the word itself. If it's a place which starts an Indian, even though it's a middle pasuk. But Rabbah says definitively, like Arukh HaShulchan says, you have to go back to the beginning of that pasuk. But back to Arukh HaShulchan, so parsha you stay from there to the rest, and the parsha made a day until if you don't know where you made a mistake. Close the Rosh Parsha, go back to the beginning of the parsha. Im Gam Omar Shema Yisrael, and you don't remember you said Shema Yisrael, Chayzel Shema Yisrael. If you there Shema Yisrael, if you knew that you said that pasuk about something Shema Elch, and the doubt is later on. Maschil mi v'havta. You start from havta v'ruch shenko. So you'll avoid if somebody other if you're not sure if you said it. Last night is brought to b'safek baruch shenko v'muchzam but answer chazor. Even though if your stuff goes only about the baruch shenko v'muchzam sentence, you don't have to go back. Kshebbirur omar avavta. It's when you're sure you said ve'ahavta. But in this case, you're not. So we have to go back on Bafta because of the suffix anyway. So might as well include Baruch Shem. But Shagam Bo Yesh suffix when it is also part of the suffix. Dalit, B'cheinim Tom and Parsha Shades Shasima Parsha. You finished one of the Parshas. But in there, in Rishayna, you see, the first or the second one. Close the parsha. You show you start from the beginning of the first parsha. Umaschil v'yoyim shama. You go back to the first parsha, I guess, and you start v'yoyim shama. Actually, it means you go back to the first parsha. I guess it means to go back to after, and then you start v'yoyim shama afterwards. Even the Similar words describe the both parshas called Chsavtam, Ukshartam, Ushitcha Beisecha. Then Rishon Mishnah don't even the first or second. Chosa Mishnah go back to the one in the first. That's only if you can start L'man Yirbu. Avim Yischil L'man Yirbu. If we started L'man Yirbu, B'vadahi Me'ashnina is second. It's clearly from the second one. You start Omer Kviyar Gela because you probably said it. L'man Yirbu immediately after the second parsha, as you're habituated. Koshni Yodesh Yischil Parsha Tzitzis, and certainly you knew you start Parsha Tzitzis. Vadahi Me'ashnina. Then you certainly said the second parsha. So too, if you remember with clarity, at least one word that you said, Chazak Shamar Kol Shamali Merit. So Chazak said everything else which is before it, and you'll go back to the meaning of the pasuk of this, the beginning of the pasuk of this word. Hey, not just in Kriya Shema, you go back and make a mistake. If you make a significant change from the formula of the bracha, as to create, go back to the beginning of the bracha. That's why you change at the beginning, for a choshech. At the end, Yotze Mos. But you know what's the table spans of bracha? You added some random words in the middle of the bracha, so you fell asleep. And when you fall asleep when you're davening or saying shir, you started saying gibberish. That's usually what snaps you back awake. Me personally, snaps you back awake. When I realize I'm saying gibberish in a shir, I realize I've fallen asleep, and then I have to go back somehow because I'm embarrassed and make the gibberish somehow fit into the shir. I've done that sometimes. If you listen to enough Yerushalmi tapes, you'll hear that, and you'll know the times when I fell asleep while saying shir. As long as the P'tich and Chasim are correct, in the test. Simon Samachet, in Korasugi read it out of order. Shemotz Tzibur Kori. We found the Tzibur saying it. Av, Dak Shodam was a mitzvah. A person has a mitzvah, you can also Kori Kriya Shema, such as reading Shema, or Mitzpah, or davening, or Tokei B'Shofar, blowing Shofar, or Kriya Samgila, or reading Megillah. Basically, B'Hamitzah, and he stopped in the middle. The Shami Apostle Hefsek, and that intermission he took, he spent enough time to get more Kula, finish the entire thing. Mevurah Rosh Hashanah Liam Tkiyos. It's clarified in Masechus Rosh Hashanah in terms of Tkiyos. The Shama Teisha Tkiyos we have Rosh Hashanah, and Rosh Hashanah Teisha Shos B'Yoyim. If you heard the three different Tkiyos, Tkiya, Shorah Trua Tkiya, Tkiya, Trua Tkiya, 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 Trua Tkiya. If you heard, those are the 9 kolos. If you heard them through many hours of the day, B'tei Shos B'Yom Yotza B'chem Megillah, they have to be Megillah. Uvrachos Omer B'tfilah L'Eschil Lehashtin. If somebody was in the middle of davening and he had to urinate, V'shok Delik was calling, and he tarried then to finish it all. Yesham Plukta, there's a machlokas. Plus, the Shem Agam the Chayzer Rosh, got to go back to the beginning. Come on, Shom, Gabi Kriya Shema, plus like the Ein Chayzer Rosh. Shema, I say, don't go back to the beginning. Chem Gil Shofar, Ein Chayzer Rosh, Gil Shofar, don't go back to the beginning either. See, the rock betfila, it's only in the Amida. The Yesh Chomer, which has a severity. Shas Lafsik, Afilo Melech Shov Shlomo. You can't interrupt, even the king is inquiring as to your health. Chayzer Rosh, didn't go back to the beginning. Lo b'shad were not in other scenarios. Ramazal Pasal came prepared basic Kriya Shema, they in a chayzer. In fact, Ram himself said, like Kriya Shema, that you don't go back even after a long intermission. But I mean, feel only Pasak Shechayzer. He says you should have to go back to the beginning. This is only the tip of the iceberg of this issue, as we shall see when we get to Sif Beis.